Every afternoon at precisely 4:15 p.m., this dog arrives at the same street corner, finds a specific patch of concrete, and sits. He doesn't exhibit any of the typical behaviors of a stray. There is no begging for scraps, no barking at traffic, and no restless pacing. He just remains perfectly still, staring down the road. This routine has persisted through heavy rain, summer heat, and the constant flow of crowds. Day after day, the dog remains anchored to this single spot. People in the neighborhood have grown used to the sight. They watch him with a detached curiosity, recognizing the pattern of his arrival without ever understanding the internal clock driving it. What we are seeing is a rigid behavioral loop. It is a visible, daily symptom of a deeper drive, operating in a complete vacuum of context. When we see an animal in this state, our instinct is to project human solutions onto the problem. The neighbors assumed the dog was simply hungry, suffering from an illness, or recently abandoned. They tried to intervene with physical comforts, leaving out bowls of food or trying to coax him into temporary shelters. But none of these external offerings could disrupt his commitment to that 4:15 p.m. arrival. This is a closed behavioral loop. It's a psychological cycle that is entirely immune to outside stimuli. Because the dog's focus is internal, physical inputs like food or shelter simply bounce off the perimeter of his routine. The community couldn't reach him because they were treating a physical need. They were trying to fix a hunger that didn't exist, while the invisible system governing his actions went completely ignored. One man in the neighborhood decided to stop guessing. He realized that to understand the dog, he had to stop offering food and start tracking the dog's actual movements. He began following the dog on its short daily route, keeping his distance to see where this specific journey actually led. The destination was a quiet, unremarkable bus stop. Once there, the dog simply resumed his seated posture, waiting at a piece of public transit infrastructure as if he were expecting a passenger. This changed the nature of the mystery. The man had to ask, what specific event was supposed to happen at this exact transit point at 4:15 p.m.? By identifying the location, the man had found his first real data point. This wasn't a random stray sitting on a sidewalk. This was a dog showing up for a scheduled appointment. The man eventually uncovered the history of that stop. 3 years earlier, the dog's owner stepped off that bus at 4:15 p.m. every single day, met by his loyal companion. That cycle was broken when the owner died suddenly in an accident. The bus kept coming, but the person the dog was waiting for never returned. This is associative temporal anchoring. Animals link time to recurring physical events, not abstract numbers. For this dog, 4:15 isn't a time, it's the bus arriving. But because the owner never steps off, the anchor event never happens. The loop cannot be closed, so the internal clock simply resets for the next day. The dog is caught in a biological state of perpetual resetting hope. When the story of the owner came to light, the neighborhood's curiosity turned into a deep collective sympathy. People tried to intervene with force. They physically removed the dog from the bus stop, taking him into their homes to give him a new life and a new family. He escaped every time. No matter how comfortable the new home was, the dog was driven by a biological need to return to the bus stop and attempt to close the loop. You cannot use physical force to make an animal abandon a routine that is wired into its deepest psychological bonds. To the dog, leaving that spot would mean missing the one event he's lived for every day for 3 years. The old man realized that the loop couldn't be broken by force. If the dog couldn't be pulled out of his world, the man would have to step into it. The next day, at 4:15 p.m., the man went to the bus stop. He didn't try to lead the dog away or offer him food. He simply sat down on the bench next to him and remained silent. He returned the very next day, and the day after that. Slowly, the dog's isolated vigil became a shared appointment. While the dog may never understand the finality of what happened 3 years ago, he clearly recognizes the person sitting next to him now. By simply showing up at 4:15, the old man proved that the only way to help someone trapped in a wait is to sit down and wait with them.